What's up, YouTube? Hefe coming to you, Captain Awesome's Fish Room. Got some exciting things going on. Gonna show y'all my CO2 mix and how I do it and what I do, and also gonna tell y'all, or show y'all anyway, how I made my my bubble counter. But first, yesterday was Q&A Friday, and I did miss a question from my boy Williams Fish Tanks, or Wolfie Bitch as some of y'all know him. He asked, if I had any advice on how to move tanks to a new house and move fish too. I do, so I'm going to hit that real quick and then we'll get back on the CO2. Oh, these guys spawned again, by the way, and she's actually keeping the fry at bay, so we're going to have another batch, I'm guessing. But anyways, some ways to move tanks. If you're not moving them from one house to another, you're just moving them in your house. Those little carpet slides, they're discs that are about this big and they're really hard plastic. You put them under the corner of each of your stand, and you can kind of push them down the hallway like that. But if you're moving to another house, the best and easiest way to do it is to completely drain out your tanks. Now, if you're careful, you can leave the substrate in, but I'd recommend not doing that. You want to get a bunch of 5-gallon buckets, get it to put your substrate in, and you want to keep all that nitrifying bacteria that lives inside the substrate alive. I mean, some of it's going to die off, of course, but you definitely want to try to keep it alive. So fill your bucket about 3/4 of the way with substrate and the rest with aquarium water. And then get you one of those battery-powered air pumps, and you can push that tube all the way down to the bottom of the bucket with an air stone on it, and bubble it, and that'll keep water current going through that substrate, so most of your nitrifying bacteria will stay alive. With fish moving, you're going to need 5-gallon buckets or tubs like that. Depending on the size and the type of fish that you keep, of course, that's going to determine the size of the bucket or, thing like that you're going to need. I mean, if your fish like to jump, like if you're moving an arowana, you're going to want something like that you can clamp the lid down on. Of course, you want to keep some holes in the top, not big holes, just, some breathing holes. And then, of course, keep a battery-powered air pump in there to keep some oxygen moving through there, and it just helps with transportation, keeping the water moving in there, and it just gives them oxygen to breathe, because it's a really stressful time moving fish. Now, if you're having to move cross country, you definitely need to sit down and plan. If you have a lot of tanks, you got a lot of planning to do, guys. You definitely want to wrap the corners of your tanks, and you also want to put some kind of sheath across the glass panes of it, and wrapping the corners with some styrofoam or something like that, so they don't get bumped really hard and stuff like that. And with the fish, the bucket rule and the tub rule does apply, and you definitely need some battery-powered air pumps. There's really no easy way to do it, especially if you have big tanks. Your smaller tanks, like the 10 gallons, those are going to be pretty easy, and you can leave the substrate in those, as a matter of fact. And just make sure you got some aeration in there to keep your nitrifying bacteria alive. But anything bigger than a 10-gallon tank, guys, you're gonna need to get some 5-gallon buckets and some of those tubs, depending on the size of your fish. Now, if the size of your fish are relatively small, you don't keep fish like I keep. One of these 36-gallon tubs would do fine for a whole tank. You could actually put all of it in there and make it a portable aquarium. Just make sure you have good aeration and stuff like that, and have an extra 5-gallon bucket with some cured tap water, and whenever you're if you're moving a really long way, then make sure that you do a little bit of a water change every now and then, because the waste is going to build up. So those are some suggestions, some advice of how to move tanks. You know, just make sure you wrap everything real good. Make sure you aerate everything. Try to keep your nitrifying bacteria alive, keep your fish alive, and it'll go smoothly. So, without further ado, sorry about that, William, man. Just got a lot going on, bro, and I missed it. That's my bad. I won't miss anything again, guys. I think I have my system down, so keep those questions coming. But with the CO2 mix, what I use is 2 cups of sugar. I actually use, let's see, 1 full teaspoon, so I use 4 of these. And what I do is I put about half of a cup of sugar inside lukewarm water. That's the key to this, guys. Lukewarm water. Then I put about a half a cup of sugar into that water, and I shake it up really good till it's all dissolved. Then I put my my half of a teaspoon of yeast. The type of yeast I use, guys, this is the best yeast in my opinion. Hold on, let me get a uncut package here. I use this here, Fleischmann's Rapid Rise Highly Active Yeast, all natural yeast. This is actually a live yeast. The best kind of yeast you can use is actually the yeast they use to make wine, because it's used to a higher alcohol level, and when this ferments so much it does produce alcohol, guys, and that yeast will actually live longer with the wine yeast, the kind they use to make wines. So, you know, something to look into. It's kind of hard to find, but it can be found, maybe a little bit more expensive, okay? So what I've already done is I've already put my half a cup of sugar in here, and my 2 quarter teaspoons of that yeast I just showed you. Now what I'm going to do is, this is a cool little trick, guys. I'm going to take 2 of these, which is half a teaspoon of baking soda, okay? I'll tell you why. Yeast actually does not like acidic conditions, okay? So what that baking soda is going to do is it's actually going to create a more alkaline environment through the life of the yeast. And you know, of course you want to wait to drill your tap until you shaken this up and, you know, get it all mixed up real good. And every time you put something in there, shake it up, keep it going. Now you can kind of see some bubbles. It's mostly because I've been shaking it. But once we continue talking here for a minute, you'll see that it'll actually produce a different type of bubble. That's the yeast eating on the sugar and producing CO2. That's, you know, it's not a bunch of CO2 as of yet, guys, because it's you know, it's new, okay? So then what I'm going to continue to do is get some sugar in here, and this is how I do it. I could use a bigger spoon, but, you know, I don't have anything else to do here, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add that, and then I'll add the rest of my yeast, and then I'll add the rest of my sugar. Now, you know, you want to be pretty precise with your sugar, guys, because the more sugar that you have in there, the more yeast that you need in there. That sugar is what the yeast feed on to, you know, basically produce CO2. And another trick, guys, is when your CO2 generator, this thing right here, stops producing the CO2 that you know, you're looking for, actually get you like a 10 cc syringe. Of course, it doesn't have to have a needle on it, but a 10 cc syringe, and suck out a sample of this and put it into your new mix, and it'll actually kick off, you know, the CO2 production. So, you know, and that's called using a mother. When you actually use a fermented yeast mix, you know, a fermented yeast mix, if you take a sample out of it, that's a mother, okay? They actually make sourdough bread the same way. Okay, so I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna finish this part on camera. It'd simply take too long. So now I'm gonna go over my my bubble counter. This is what's going to be my bubble counter. I've always used it this way. It's a fantastic idea. I forget where I learned it at, or I'd give that person credit. I think it was back in my management days at the True Percula aquarium store. I was freshwater manager there. But anyways, what I use is one of your basic check valves. You know, in comes in through here and then out inside the part that's going inside this syringe that I pulled the plunger out of. And what's going to happen is it's going to sit this way, okay? And the tube coming from the CO2 bottle is going to connect right here, and then there's going to be water in here, of course. And if you jam this in here, it's a watertight seal. I like to jam it in about halfway, and it creates a watertight seal. And I'm also going to be throwing some super glue or some silicone around that. That way I can just, you know, keep this one. I won't have to keep making them. And then, you know, you put about this much water in it there. And, you know, every time there's a bubble of CO2 that comes out of the other end of the check valve there, it'll bubble up, and you'll see how many bubbles per minute or bubbles per second that are coming out of it. And then this tube will actually run to this little doodad, which is going to be in line with this thing that's going to be filled with bioballs. And of course I'm gonna do a full video on the whole system to show you how it's working. But you know, there's a bunch of different ways to make a bubble counter. A lot of people like to run a tube from one of these to a smaller bottle, and you know, that's their bubble counter. I like this one better. It's the closest thing that you can get to you know, a bubble counter that you can buy. It's a lot neater. It'll look neater if you connect it up to your tank right there. See, you know, it just has some sexy appeal to it. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's very efficient. Now, it won't last forever, guys. CO2 will break down the rubber that's inside this check valve. You know, and these check valves are cheap. They won't really last that long. I mean, they'll last maybe a year, maybe 2 years, but you know, you will have to replace it eventually. But this is a very cheap bubble counter, okay? These check valves are like 50 cents, and these syringes I think are like 32 cents at your Walgreens or CVS. So very easy to do, DIY bubble counter. So that's that. So I'm gonna continue mixing this, and you know, once I get it all hooked up, and we'll go over the system and stuff like that. I did see some of y'all inside the auction last night. It was a fun auction. I won some pretty good stuff. I got some indica, some rip-ins, some temple plants, and I'm really excited about the next two, guys. I got some stargrass and some pearlweed. So those guys, Mr. Mom's Tanks, J Flesh Tanks, they do it up real big. So I know I'm gonna be getting some big old plants. Well, a lot of plants anyway. And something else I picked up is some cardinalis. I'm not good with plant names though, guys, but you can see the scientific name there. It's a red plant, beautiful plant. I used to grow these. I believe I sent some to Trina Marie. I don't know if they made it. It's kind of more of a, you know, kind of crybaby plant. You know, it requires a little bit higher care, but yeah, I picked up some of that too, and also got some of this Flourish comprehensive supplement for the planted tank. Just has a good solid nutrient label. I love the stuff by Seachem, guys. Seachem is my favorite company. API is one of my favorite companies. Hikari, NLS, you know, maybe I'll do a video on that, my favorite aquarium companies. So that's all I got, guys. This is what I'm doing, this is what I've done. Hope y'all enjoyed the video, hope it helps somebody. You know, I'm going to do another how-to video of how I set it all up, so stay tuned for that. Construction on the fish room should be starting soon, guys. I'm just waiting on that tax check. They're taking their time sending it, so, you know, stay tuned for that. It's coming, and we'll see what happens with this batch here. What else? What other kind of updates? I think that was it, guys. So without further ado, hope y'all have a great Saturday, and we'll see y'all next time. Adios, folks. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Red freckled monsters.